here's Brody Brazil.
You know, I was planning to do this reaction video to Blake Snell's first ever start with the San Francisco Giants, no matter how the results went last night. But I feel like being removed and looking back, his start is kind of like the start of this Giants season. So much anticipation, so much expectation that when it actually happened and it wasn't great, wasn't awful, somewhere in between, you really don't know what to make of it, and it brings instant concern because it just didn't fast track you to exactly what you hope he'll turn out to be. Again, could have gone better, could have gone a lot worse. We need to begin with the hype. Obviously, he was one of the big free agents and the last ones remaining, a Scott Boras client to sign with the San Francisco Giants. He signed on March 18th, so well behind the curve of spring training games. He was on his own throwing routine, but hadn't faced major league hitters since last season until last night. He signed a 2-year, $62 million contract, so that goes in with the expectations. And of course, his track record, one of only 7 major league pitchers to win the Cy Young in the American and National League, which he did last year with the San Diego Padres. So the buildup was intense. The final line last night, not great, not glamorous, let's say. He picks up the loss. He goes 3 innings. He only allows 3 hits, 3 earned runs. He walked 2, both of those free passes scored, and he did strike out 5. He ended up throwing 72 pitches. Yes, he was on a pitch count. We'll talk about that in a second. But only 39 strikes. He got to 3-ball counts a lot early in the night, which we'll also talk about in a second. 14 batters faced, 7 first pitch strikes. Usually that ratio favors a little more of the strikes to batters faced in terms of first pitches. So not a lot of first pitch strikes, generally speaking. He did induce 3 groundouts, 1 flyout. I mentioned both walks scored. And you look at how he got to 72 pitches across 3 innings, 26 pitches in the first frame, very laborious. It got worse in the second inning, 33 pitches. And then finally, a lot more of a clean frame in the third, only 13 pitches to get him his final 3 outs. So you look at it that way, but then you also put it in perspective to his career. This short of an outing, now again, it was planned to be short by a pitch count, but he made 32 starts last season with the Padres. Obviously, yes, won the Cy Young Award. He hasn't gone this short in a game since 2021. His shortest outing last year happened to be early last year, April 6th, in a game with the Padres facing Atlanta in Georgia. He went 3 2/3 in that one. It was also the fewest pitches he's thrown, again, on a pitch count, since he threw 82 last summer, July 15th. But in that game, he was doing well. He went 5 innings in playing against the Philadelphia Phillies. So here are my takeaways, and I think all of this needs to be taken with a grain of salt to begin with. His first outing of 2024 did not have spring training, has not faced major league hitters. Yeah, he's a veteran. Yeah, he's got tons of experience under his belt. But you do something for your career and then not do it for 4, 5, 6 months and then try and get right back to it. It's not that easy to jump right back on the horse without the proper buildup that pitchers are used to. Now, I understand, self-inflicted. Did he wait that long to sign this contract and join a team? Yes, but that's just the nature of the business. And also, we won't be remembering this come July and August and September. I mentioned he was on the expected pitch count, so his night was, I don't want to say doomed to begin with, but it was only going to go a certain distance from the moment he threw his first pitch. And I think how long he went in the game mixed with how tough it was at the start, how much he labored to get through the Nationals lineup, I think all of that comes together in a picture to make it look a lot worse than it actually was. If you take that line and you take away his 2 walks, which would then take away 2 runs, 3 innings, 1 earned run, striking out 5 on a limited pitch count, okay, that's a pretty good night. The 2 walks, a couple defensive mistakes, it cost him and the Giants. But I mentioned the 3-ball counts. The first 7 batters he faced, he took to ultimate 3-ball counts, 3-0, 3-1, 3-2. It's just a lot of pitches, and he's kind of known for that. He walked a lot of batters last year, I think among the most in the National League, but not a lot of them actually came around to score on him. He did strike out 5. Let's not gloss over that, right? He only recorded 9 outs. 5 were via strikeout, and of course, that also takes a certain toll on the pitch count. So he's got to find a way eventually to go longer in games. By the way, Blake Snell has never pitched a complete game in his career. Imagine that. A guy who's won the American and National League Cy Young Award has never even pitched a single complete game. You could also say, well, last year was the same thing, right? With the Padres, he ultimately wins the Cy Young Award, but it was a rough start for him last year. The first 5 or 6 outings, I want to say, his ERA was in the 5s and 6s. And then the rest of the way, sub 2. But I don't know if you want to bank on that to say that, oh, well, somebody's a notorious slow starter and they always figure it out. You really don't want to dig yourself and your team that hole if you don't absolutely have to. So I get it. I understand the theory. He's just a slow starter and this is how it goes. I don't think that's optimal. I don't think anybody feels comfortable leaning on that with any stability. I also felt like in watching his start, we've been talking about just stats and numbers and the analytics breakdown here. If you just watched him last night, a couple pitches he missed, a couple that got away from Bailey or were totally out of the strike zone, he was kind of talking to himself a lot out there on the mound. And I don't know that that's something all veterans do. They learn to talk more internally in their head, but you could see him actually communicating with himself, going over things, fixing things, feeling right about things. It almost looked a lot more like a spring training start than his first start of the season. And I also understand that this was strategic by Bob Melvin and the Giants to kind of give him a soft landing for his first outing of the season, playing a bunch of games against his former team, the Padres, that know him well. Didn't have to face them, didn't have to face the Dodgers. You were on your home turf. It was the Giants' first true night game, weeknight game of the regular season. So they tried to figure out a soft landing spot for Snell, and it was okay. It just wasn't like opening the Christmas present and having everything be perfect, a magical moment. It was like, oh, okay, we'll work with this. We'll take some strides with this. Still, though, he hit 97 on the radar, and it's going to be a long season, right? There's plenty of time for this to all shake out and work out the right way. Blake Snell's track record is what it is. And again, I understand people are applying how last night went to how the Giants as a team are going through their first, 10, 11 plus games of the season. And it doesn't instill a lot of confidence. And there are some things to be worked out. But all of this is under a very small sample size. And for Blake Snell, 72 pitches of a sample size. So you should still be excited. There's still a lot left to happen here. Do not rush to judgment on Blake Snell. Yeah, you'd like to think that in a matter of weeks, if not months, this is going to work out exactly how you hoped it would. You made it here to the end of the video. You know I appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. That'll greatly help me and this channel. And also, I would love to see you back here again next time. So make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. I appreciate it.